Hello everyone, welcome to yet another day in this The Clown Decade, the decade where things are only going to get worse before they get better. And we're at the point in the Clown Decade where your average feminist thinks that being stuck in the woods with a bear gives them a better odds of survival, or at least gives them a better quality of life, than being stuck in the woods with a man. And in one of the viral TikTok videos asking this question, the results were 8 women would prefer to be stuck in the woods with a bear, to 1 woman who said actually it makes more sense to be with a man. And obviously this went into the wider influencer space. And to be fair, a lot of women influencers were commenting saying, wow, this is ridiculous. Of course it makes more sense to be stuck in the woods with a man because you can cooperate and help each other. However, we are going to be looking at one particular YouTuber called Burp and Boogie, who has just under 50,000 subscribers, who talks about this entire conversation, because I want a really easy video to go through on Friday, because I don't know how I'm going to feel next week, as I have a busy weekend ahead. So, enjoy this weekend entertainment from me, and please take it away, Burp and Boogie.
You know, we have been having this bear versus man conversation for a few weeks now on social media. And the women are very loudly saying that they will gladly choose seeing a bear in the woods versus seeing a man. They are very loudly in the comment section across social media choosing the bear versus the man. And men are just loudly having this conversation. I mean, tone deafly having these conversations at us and not necessarily listening to women.
Well, I'm not being funny, but would you have a good reaction if a bunch of men were being asked, if you were stranded at sea, would you rather hear the calls of a woman or a siren? And most of the time they said the calls of a siren. You know, would you take that well? Because I'm not taking this well because it's beyond bigoted. But as she says, there's a lot of talking past each other, and so that is the point of this video, so that I actually can address what she is saying about this subject rather than just talking past all the other women who give their reasons. So do carry on.
And it has been very, very good PR for the Bears. It's very pro bear propaganda out there simply because men don't listen to women.
Well, here it is, a man doing a reply video to a woman on this subject. So let's see if our complaints men are well founded with the things that the women are saying.
I did my own poll, and just within one day, less than a day, it's been 16 hours over on my Bourbon Bougie community on YouTube. I had over 1,200 votes, and 94% of them said that they would rather encounter a bear than a man in the woods.
I can't imagine having such a sheltered life, and I mean, I live in the UK. We're not going to ever run into bears in the woods. But I can't imagine having such a sheltered life that either you miss the spirit of this question, or you just hate men so much that you would rather be mauled to death than even have to think about seeing one in the woods. You know, don't get me wrong, I get that this is a bit of a meme, but at the same time, there's almost no apologia for the man hate. There's no kind of indication that they are actually joking here. And that, I think, is where a lot of men, it's certainly where I'm getting my revulsion to this entire conversation from.
Some of the comments: bears are predictable, men are not. The Princess Brat said, I've read up on what to do if you encounter a bear. Most animals don't want anything to do with you and avoid you, unlike men.
You think most men want to have something to do with you? You clearly hate them. I think they'll get the picture. And this is putting quite a lot of faith in nature shows. And this is not the type of video where I'm going to go into great detail about statistics and all that, but I would be shocked if there has been more male on female attacks in woods than there have been bear on literally anyone on the planet attacks in woods. And that's not even considering the spirit of the question, which is, you're stuck in the woods. The implication of this question is that you're not on like a 5-minute stroll from your house, you're in kind of a wilderness area, and you could probably do with, not necessarily that you need help, but in the wilderness, I don't know why people wouldn't help each other. That's not to say that there is a 0% chance that the man won't attack you. That is to say, though, that you have a much higher chance of the man helping you than the bear helping you. But as I say, we live in such a misandrous society that women will just laugh about the fact that, yeah, I'd rather be mauled by a bear than even have to have the chance of seeing a man in the woods. It's just a really weird reaction, and one where the joke isn't really coming across at all.
Susan says the bear will avoid you. You'll have to avoid the man. The bear will only bother you if she has children, and the man's in the woods avoiding his. Okay.
I mean, pretty quickly this has gone from her saying, men don't understand why we're trying to avoid them, into men hate their kids, which, this is why Sargon is so good on the Lotus Eaters and going on about his dadism. He's such a positive role model for men who aren't sure what to do with their life, and it's probably made some men realise that actually, yeah, I really do want a kid, because I really do want a small child who is exploring the world and wants me to be the person that they explore it with, and be the person that they are, explaining what they've been exploring to. Like, I can completely understand that being a target for quite a few young men now. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely times in every man's life where they want to, get away from the family. That's a tale as old as time. All men like their alone time, but my God. It's strange that women would shame men for that here, especially with the conversation we're talking about.
TK says, I wonder if they make movies about men killing people in the woods, but not about the bears doing the same.
Did this guy never hear of The Revenant? Hell, Cocaine Bear came out, 2 years ago? I think I can name more films of bears attacking people in the woods than serial killers attacking people in the woods. And that's just off the top of my head.
Wanderlust Homebody says, I asked my husband this question too, and even he said a bear. They are the most predictable.
Yes, but your husband also knows that if you find a man in the woods and he offers to help you, there's actually a pretty good chance if you start cooperating that you will actually end up falling in love with him. So he's got that to contend with too, to encourage you to want to encounter a bear rather than a man. Again, this is assuming the spirit of the question, in that you are stuck in the wilderness in the woods, not that you are 5 minutes away from your home. Basically what the spirit of the question is do you think bears are more or less dangerous than men? And an awful lot of this cope is effectively down to, yes, we think men are more dangerous than bears, which is just absurd. Anyway, a lot of this video is just very, very normie comedy comments, and so I'm just going to skip all the comedy comments now.
Rainbow Unicorn says, 3 men. I'd rather encounter Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Baby Bear.
Goldilocks is a very interesting analogy to use here, because I think there's only one version of the story I've heard where, Goldilocks actually talks to the three bears and, apologises for stealing their food and breaking their chair. But in pretty much every other version, she's either mauled or she's very frightened to see three bears and runs away to either her grandmother's house or, it just says she runs away and never sees them again. Presumably, to the help of a man or something like that. So even in Goldilocks, if you ask Goldilocks if you're in the woods, would you rather see a bear or a man? Goldilocks would definitely say a man, because Goldilocks isn't mental.
Chronic Fatigue says, the bear doesn't hate me, feel entitled to anything, isn't angry because of life, isn't angry at me because I'm probably this or that. That annoys him.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You can read the rest of it there if you really want to. But I do get really fed up with all the armchair analysis that all these feminists do of men, when it honestly looks like they don't actually talk to men with the way they talk about them. And it's this thing that happens with all beauty standards discussions. It's always, oh, men put this expectation on women. Men expect this, that, and the other. When, no, it's women who have a go at each other for how they look all the time. Men don't even know what foundation is. They're not going to be able to comment on your makeup. What it looks like this long paragraph effectively comes down to is, I know the bear is just going to maul me because that's its nature. However, men are unpredictable and I don't like that. It feels icky. Which is absolutely mental. There is a slight chance that a man would have his way with me before he kills me, whereas a bear will just kill me. And somehow you'd still choose the bear in that situation, despite the fact that it is less likely that the man is going to do those awful things, and is probably less likely to kill you. But these feminists probably actually don't think that. They probably genuinely think that it is in man's nature to do what a bear would do, but also the other parts of nasty human nature. In fact, I think it gets very interesting at this sentence.
Won't enjoy the power of me having no protection from him, and is completely dependent on him and completely at his mercy.
I mean, just from a male's perspective, that just seems deranged to me. It's a subconscious thing in males. I believe there's even been studies into the chemical makeup of women's tears, and there's actually chemicals in there that, when absorbed by male skin, actually strengthens the bond between the man and the woman and makes him want to protect her. Like, subconsciously, we are wired that, yes, men are the protectors of women. Obviously, when it comes to being in the same in-group, which, if you're in a family, say, of course you are. This is why throughout the vast recordings of history, it's been men going to war. It's been men doing the horrible jobs. It's been the men who were the officers or the militia keeping the law of the land. Civilization effectively comes about because, as Futurama says, the both sexes are trying to impress each other to procreate. But this particular woman seems to think that subconscious desire comes from a place of insidiousness. And I genuinely think it's a projection. I genuinely think it's because this woman enjoys having people under her and being able to have all the power over them. And she doesn't like the fact that other men may have that over her, despite the fact that the state has it over her. But I suppose that's why they want the state to do it, because it doesn't feel like men are doing it, or a man is doing it more specifically, because of course men basically keep the government running as well. But that's not even the worst part of this comment.
It wouldn't lure me out of the comforting thing that I wanted to hear, that he wouldn't harm me, then turn on me when I fully trusted and was trapped.
I mean, I know feminism is doo-doo is basically accepted by everyone these days, but subconsciously women just seem to have taken it on board completely. He wouldn't lure me out and then have sex with me. No, the bear wouldn't do that. Again, these biological pressures on people, the hormones raging through them, that basically tell men, you need to be the protector of women and the provider of women, because that's what'll, get things going, so to speak. And this woman saying, oh, I can't believe he would do things for me, and then want to have sex with me. And I know she's put it in such a way to say, what was it, lure me out with the comforting thing that I want to hear, that he wouldn't harm me, even though it's beyond that. It's actually, I will protect you from harm. But then he'll turn on me when I was trapped. When in reality, what is actually happening there is the man is doing what he feels his duty is, which is to protect the woman that he has found out in the woods. So at least she actually understands the hypothetical here, or the spirit of the hypothetical. But then says, no, I would still rather be mauled by a bear because the man might want to have sex with me. Which is effectively what that comes down to. I know the insinuation is that it would be rape, but her preconception is that she wouldn't want to have sex with any man, which I guess is typical for feminists.
The bear would just lumber by, minding his own business, unless I tried to approach or make him feel threatened or was in his way, or if I had food. The bear is less psychologically distressing.
It's amazing to me, absolutely amazing, that half the human population you would find psychologically distressing if you encountered them in the woods. Half of the human population. And yet with a bear, you wouldn't find it psychologically distressing. Again, big assumptions. The bear wouldn't approach me. I don't know, pretty big assumption. I mean, it's probably true. However, it's also probably true of men. This comment is dripping in misandrist thought, and after I've been told I'm not listening to women and talking past them, well, actually, this is the first time I'm replying to it. What she has said is deranged. It's bigoted. It's horrible. I'm going to do the classic thing of, imagine if this comment was about black people. I think you'd have a bit more to say about it than this.
There you have it. This was some of the comments on my page.
On a bit of a tangent, it's quite amazing to me that there are people out there whose videos are literally just make post, read the comments. Nothing's really been added here. What I'm reacting to here is other people's words that this YouTuber is reading out and that she is agreeing with. I'm not really refuting anything from the creator, which I'd say we probably need to change the incentive so that we get less of this mindless reading on YouTube. But hey, she'll be more monetized than me, so whatever.
Now, many people know, and I talked about the fact that I got demonetized for a day last week.
Oh, never mind. I don't think I've actually ever been demonetized for a day. However, I have noticed that comments appear to be by default turned off now, so I need to remember to turn them on for this video. But that seems to be YouTube's new way of saying, we don't like you. So, YouTube doesn't like me. Subscribe to me for that.
Well, this person, Eric Blackman, said on a video of mine, it wasn't about the bear, but he said in general, well, at least you can't make money on your black men hate speech on this platform because for whatever reason, this type of person thinks that I'm only specifically talking about black men. When we're talking about men on this page, I am pulling experiences from women all throughout social media, and these are global situations.
I'm so glad I went down this rabbit hole. I forget that there are actually still YouTubers and influencers like this. She didn't actually deny that it was hate speech. She didn't actually deny that what she is spreading is hate speech. I just want you to know. She just rephrased it as, no, when we're on this channel, we're talking about all men. But she didn't say, for a start, it's not hate speech. No, she just went straight to, no, I'm going through the hate speech of women from all over the world talking about it. This is very much a case of the mask has accidentally slipped here. And again, I am so glad I went through this because I forget that this is real life. Like, I know people say Twitter and YouTube, what have you, aren't real life, but no, they are. They are the culturally engaged class of people, and they are very much real. I mean, I don't know what's going to have to happen in real life to show you that social media is real life, but you know, we're not that far away from people being thrown into gulags for saying naughty things online. So take that how you will.
And I let this person know, good morning, I have my ads back. I was demonetized for a day. And he says, looks like I have a lot of work to do. Let the dusting begin. So instead of this person taking the opportunity to know and understand that no, I'm not just singling out black men, that I'm not even disparaging black men, that or men in general. Um, I'm holding up women's perspectives. I am amplifying women's stories. And some of these things are not good in how men treat women.
I mean, yeah, absolutely true. There are horrible men out there, and obviously there will be women with horrible stories about men. Hell, I've heard them myself. But to take that and just completely uncritically read the comment you did before, where it effectively said, yeah, I know the bear's going to leave me alone, but here's all the worst case scenarios from a men, and that's quite likely to happen, and just the idea of that being likely to happen causes psychological distress, which isn't as bad as being mauled. Yeah, I can see why this guy called it hate speech. And again, I find it really funny that despite saying all that, you still don't address the fact he said hate speech and just almost almost tacitly accept that it is hate speech. I find it amazing.
And men simply don't want people like me speaking. I said to him, I share women's experiences. If you want a better reputation, be better humans.
I don't know what the average man is expected to do. If all your kind of outlook on men is, you know, real life crime documentaries on Netflix and oh, look at all these horrible men who kill cats and then people, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what more I can do. You know, I've not murdered women. I've not raped women. What more am I supposed to do? Is there any wonder? Again, this is shown everywhere. Zoomers men do not approach women. They don't do it. They don't do it in bars. They don't do it in really any public places. People aren't meeting each other through like work or through bars or through socializing. They're either doing it through friends, which is how it's always happened, or obviously they're doing it entirely through online dating. And this is exactly the reason. Because all your response to, I don't particularly like the fact that all this channel does is denigrate men, is just to say, well, you better be better people then. So I don't know what more I can do. And this, I think, is also affecting women's mental health, by the way. If all they're seeing on the internet is men are absolutely terrible and all they want to do is rape you, then it's kind of no wonder that also women are having a bad time. Like young girls, their suicide rate's going up due to social media, and that's obviously because of personal bullying. But also, this must play into it. You know, the climate crisis stuff. Oh, you're gonna die anyway, so it doesn't matter. The whole, you know, the other sex just hates you and wants you dead and wants to keep you down. It's kind of no wonder that no wonder that a common outlook on life from the Zoomers is don't have kids and be as selfish as you can, because they're being told they can't trust anyone. And you're not helping with that. As I say, thank God for Carl Benjamin.
And this man, like the many men in throughout these social media streets, don't want to be better. They just want to silence us.
No, we just want you to stop saying, oh, look at all these terrible stories from women. This is all men, by the way. Like, again, your outlook on life has got you to a point where you unironically think you're safer with a bear than a man in the woods. Like, your outlook on life is a little screwed up if that is your answer to that hypothetical. That's all I'm saying here.
Anyways, Edward Blackman, he was, I have blocked him from my page. I just took this screenshot because it is indicative of how they think. They think that shutting me down, shutting other women down, is going to stop us from feeling these ways.
No, I think he just wants you to stop implying that he is a bad person because of the sex he happened to be born as. I think that's all he's doing here. And it's all I'm doing too. Anyway, we'll move on.
Now I want to talk about this woman in her story. She was talking about how she would choose a bear over a man because she works in bear country.
Good lord, I'd love to see where this is going. Is it going to be the same stuff? A bear could maul me, but a man will cause me psychological distress because I've made up what he's going to do to me?
And she says she's done this for years. She works outside doing something with power lines or something like this. And this man made this comment saying, yeah, but a bear would straight up rip your throat out and eat your arms while you're still conscious.
I mean, if the Revenant is to be believed, yeah, pretty much that is what would happen.
And these kind of conversations, these men are simply not hearing women, but women are having these conversations about how they feel uncomfortable. And I think that it's going to help other women get more prepared.
More prepared? More prepared for what? We're talking about a stupid hypothetical that, I'm not being funny, it was clearly designed to show that feminists are just misandrists, and you're falling right into the trap. How is that not obviously what the hypothetical was created for goodness sake?
We're saying these things out loud, and other women won't have the opportunity to be so naive about their nature.
I've got literally no idea what she means by that, but from what I can tell, what she is saying there is, oh, women saying this is very important because it lets other women know that men are dangerous. As if women aren't told that generally. Like, they're not told by their own men in their family that, look, other men can be dangerous, have a chaperone, be with only men you trust, and you will minimise the risks in life. Like, is this not commonly taught? I certainly know women have certain rules on nights out, and I know they certainly stick with each other, and that seems to do pretty well to avoid awful things happening to them. And it's always the case of, oh, but should it be that way? Obviously not, but that's not the point.
She says, I choose the bear every day.
Well, cool. Can we get to what she actually said now, please, then?
I say I've worked in bear country for years, and these men are still talking to me like I need more information about bears to answer a hypothetical question, and not bear over man is not a decision I actively make every day, so let's talk about it.
You make a decision about what random encounter you have in the woods? What the hell do you mean by that?
Every woman who's ever had car trouble and waited an hour in a more dangerous place for their friend to get there instead of accepting the help of a random man knows what it's like to choose the bear. Every woman who's went running at night and decided on high vis or not, whether they make themselves to where they are visible to predators or accidentally get hit by a car, knows what it's like to choose the bear.
Again, it's this weird thing that it's a habit of many of these feminists. Like, think about the worst case scenario. That's going to happen with humans. Okay, now think of the best case scenario. That's always going to happen with animals. Is this the Disneyfication of people? Is this what happens when women watch too many Disney films? Because even Disney films tell you that men are great. Hell, most of the classic Disney films is actually women that are evil. But obviously you then hit the new type of Disney films and men are all the bad guys and there's barely any redeeming men in these films. And then at other times there's just simply no antagonist whatsoever. This honestly feels a very Disneyfied answer. And even then, given the choice, most men would also prefer their own friend or someone they know to come along and help them rather than a stranger. Obviously that's the case.
To not have a run-in with a bear, I just need to make myself more audible so they stay away from me. But if men hear me and they think that I'm alone, they are going to wonder why I'm there, they're going to take up my time, or worse, I'm at risk. Serious risk.
I hate this. Oh, you make yourself audible, the bear will avoid you. I'm sure that's true. Oh, but if a man hears it, again, worst case scenario. Oh my god, it's Ted Bundy. There are probably over 100 million stories of women being in the woods and being helped by a man, but you never hear about them because that is just what happens. People help each other. What you actually see in the news is the Ted Bundy cases. Woman lost in the woods and worst case scenario happens to her. And again, I get the feeling that this is what has happened here. I choose the bear every time because I know how to get them away from me. Great, fine. That's not you encountering it then, is it? But then, yeah, when it comes to a man, it's, they're going to wonder where I am and take up my time. Like, they're your first 2 points? You think a bear isn't going to take up your time? Honestly, this is your brain on nothing but Disney media.
I can't wear a bear bell, that's what solo hikers wear, so I listen to an audiobook at full volume, so hopefully through the trees they'll think it's multiple people and leave me alone.
I mean, that's just more interesting than anything, but I don't understand why you can't wear a bear bell. That didn't really explain anything.
If you have to go to the bathroom while you're on a trail crew, the etiquette is to take your hard hat off, you put it on the side of the trail, and then you go straight in. You're accounted for, and people aren't going to go over there, right? If I am by myself, I take my hard hat and my high vis off, put it on the side of the trail, and then I go the other way because I don't want to be found or more visible in a vulnerable situation. I am choosing not only the bear, but somebody probably finding me later over trusting men.
Again, I'm not getting how this is men not listening to women. She is actively saying, I hate men and distrust them so much that I'm going to abuse trail etiquette and make sure that I cannot be contacted by any man ever. It's like, yeah, I'm choosing the bear every time. But again, you're not going to encounter a bear if, as you say, you're taking the precautions of effectively having an audiobook on loudspeaker to make sure that the bear is staying away. Like, you're not choosing the bear at that point at all. In fact, if anything, you're choosing men. Because, yeah, you're right. People are going to hear an audiobook in the woods, they're obviously going to investigate. Because we are naturally inquisitive creatures.
This is my bear spray. I carry it all the time. It's never for bears.
She also then goes into a weird, over-explanation of a machete she has. And again, it feels threatening more than anything. But a weird type of threatening, the type of, I don't really know why you're telling me this unless you're telling me your fantasy right now. Which again seems to be, I can't wait for an excuse to kill a man. Which I suppose puts you a step above serial killers because they don't really have a reason to. But again, pretty weird you to be so open about that fantasy.
So everything on this side of the blade is safe, and everything on this side of the blade is not.
I hope you see what I mean there. I don't know what that look is supposed to imply. I get the feeling that it is, men, you come near me, I am going to use it. Which, sure, if a man's coming to attack you, fine, use it. But again, I cut out about 30 seconds of it going on about the machete, and it just feels like I really want an excuse to use it type scenario. And yeah, that's a bit deranged.
This is my rock hammer. This is the loop it hangs off of my belt from. They're super useful in the forest, but a lot of people aren't used to seeing them.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, as a geologist, I didn't even have a rock hammer. We weren't allowed to use them in Britain because so many geologists go around Britain and obviously do their studies here that if everyone had a rock hammer to use on rocks, there wouldn't be any rocks left in the future. But obviously it'll be a little bit different in America. I still don't really understand what she needs a rock hammer for. So, again, I'm just skipping over the first joke answer because it gives kind of serial killer vibes. Just to go to the second question.
Oh, I wrap this in string because of the second kind of question, which is, why do you have it? Which was men that associate this with their strong grandfathers, and they can't compute that a woman is holding it.
I can guarantee that women ask this question as well. But as I say, even as a geologist who knows about rock hammers, it doesn't take a genius to understand why do you actually need a rock hammer? What do you actually need it for? Because I don't know your job. If you're a geologist, yeah, obviously I'd go, I know why you've got that. It's to study rocks. But you're not a geologist, so yeah, I'm actually quite interested in why you have it. But instead of answering the question, you say yet another bigoted statement.
I have to spend time making myself less visible so my time is not consumed by misogynistic men. It is lose-lose.
Literally, I'd rather risk my life with a man, which even via your own real-life stories, you clearly don't actually do. Because you say yourself, playing your audiobooks risks men coming to see what that audiobook noise is. But that's the point. You'd rather risk encountering a bear than a man. Because, again, she's never been attacked by a man. She has been slightly annoyed by them, though. And apparently that means, yeah, I'd rather encounter a bear than a man in the woods. Like, again, you've misunderstood the spirit of the question, and even in your cope arguments of trying to explain this away, you, for a lack of a better term, accidentally admit that no, actually, you do take precautions that put man over bear. So don't give me that nonsense.
The one time I really make my presence known is when I have a work vehicle on the side of the road, a bunch of cones, maybe a blinking surveyor sign or a work being done, because people will assume it is a man. Men have more respect for that imaginary male surveyor than they do with me in full high-vis and a clipboard on the side of a road.
Right, so she's a surveyor, so that's why she's got the rock hammer. That makes sense. Even so, if you're asked why you have a rock hammer and what you use it for, just answer the question. You don't have to be this much of a complete and utter arrogant witch with what is effectively just a very simple question. What are you doing with a rock hammer? I don't see that very often, even with men. Hell, as I say, I have been doing geological studies back at university. Yes, men ask me questions, very simple ones, when we see them on walks. Hell, sometimes our wives do as well. Yeah, it's a waste of time. I don't hate people for it. That's a you problem.
And here's the deal. I can make all these really informed decisions about my own personal safety and then carry it out to a T, and it is still going to be overrun by the aggressive audacity of men.
Again, unironically, it's a case of men annoy me a bit. I'd rather risk them mauling. Oh, what annoys you about men? Oh, their misogynistic attitudes. What's their misogynistic attitudes? Oh, they asked me about this hammer. I assume it's because I'm a woman they're asking about it. I mean, I can't think of anything more narcissistic than that. They have a problem with me, and that's the only reason they're taking an interest in what I do. No, maybe they're just being friendly. For God's sake, I can't believe this is still happening in 2024, but it's the clown decade, so why am I shocked?
I told a colleague I was going to do this short series counting down the scariest times I've had working in the woods, and she asked, oh, where's that near miss in Wilkinson sit? And I said, nowhere. Because there's been so many of these, I forgot about that one. I had done everything right. I had signs out at the only entrance to this property. It was huge forested area, and I'm out there in the trees by myself, and I hear the crack of a rifle, and then men swearing, and about 7 elk ran past me. Close.
My scariest time with men was a complete and utter accident. Okay, again, this isn't even, I wouldn't even necessarily say this is the fault of men. She even says in this story that it was a very, very large wooded area. Obviously, they took the chance, and, you know, maybe they shouldn't have, sure. But this completely contradicts your point earlier of, oh, when I have my survey kit out, you know, all the equipment, they assume I'm a man and they respect me. Yeah, clearly not. Clearly that isn't the case. Again, pure narcissism. It's just really annoying at this point.
I had to make a snap decision on whether to make my presence known or not, but I realized I was probably too close to the elk still to be safe, and so I yelled out, what are you doing? We're working on the utilities, in hope that they would think that there was more of us. When I called it in, the safety officer was like, are you sure it was a gunshot? It's not elk season. Because you guys all still fucking refuse to believe how dangerous you all are.
Oh my god. Do you know what the safety officer would have to do? Of course you know what the safety officer would have to do. You're a surveyor. Safety officer would have to get statements from those men who were involved, and they obviously would have said, no, we didn't fire the rifle. And I'll take you at your word, maybe it was a rifle, but he obviously has to double check with you, you know, is this an actual contradiction? It's not because he denies or doesn't trust your word, it's because it's his job to corroborate where the contradictions are in the story, to understand what happened so that he can make his report. Honestly, this is the world to the feminists, that the entire world is against them. When in reality, if she was a man, the exact same thing will have happened anyway. Cripes, men are dangerous because they hunt elk, and I don't know, maybe didn't see this. I mean, it was the only entrance, she says. I'm not going to lie, with the way she's told all these stories and the way she has done this TikTok, I don't believe that was the only entrance to the property. I just don't believe that. Again, not because I refuse to believe that men are dangerous, but again, how are these men dangerous? Because an accident happened, with which there are very many circumstances where that might have happened. You know, the rifle might have gone off accidentally. Who knows? It doesn't matter. The whole point is that you clearly have an issue with men, and that is being projected here. That attitude is projected onto other men, and people don't like that.
These guys keep saying they're going to eat your arms while you're still conscious. You don't understand. Listen, I have worked in bear country for almost a decade now. I have had safety meetings about bears and mountain lions and hornets and what I'm supposed to do if I find a box of meth. I have never had a safety meeting about what I'm supposed to do when I realize the guy from the water district has been watching me through binoculars.
I assume, again, that is a story that happened. But my god, when I did DFE, we had people in the countryside watching us, farmers watching us. Do you know why? It's to make sure that we're not doing anything we're not supposed to. You're working on utilities. Of course, a man who is from the water company wants to make sure you're fixing the utilities properly. Trust me, he's not watching you for an awful lot of other reasons.
I choose the path that has bark stripped away off of trees where bears have been licking the sap instead of the open trail that is visible from the road. I choose the bears every day. It's not a hypothetical.
It's quite amazing how in all these stories that she's had, it's just, oh, men waste my time and annoy me. Again, that's all it is. And again, she's not been in any danger from bear either, but as she says, she takes the precautions there. And again, even if she does follow the bear trails, she's got the audiobook on. The bears will, keep away from that. What has effectively happened here is this woman has had basically no actually negative stories with other people, has had completely neutral encounters with men, and made them all to be the worst thing ever. And again, as I say, I reckon that comes from a genuine place of bigotry. Again, the classic dead conservative line, imagine if she was talking about black people.
So for some of the comments on the post, Molly Elizabeth says the fact that so many of them, as in the men, are picking this fight is doing more PR for the bears than anything. And the creator said, for real, I've never been more pro-bear in my life.
To the men in my comments section, does any of this make you feel better? Is any of this making you more understanding of the pro-bear position, or is this just making it sound like they're a bunch of lonely spinsters that you'd never want to meet in real life anyway? Because I'm certainly on that second one.
Kuzka's Poison says, for real, I've asked over a dozen men why they are mad at us for how men have made us feel instead of being mad at men who have made us feel this way. None have answered.
Well, all right, I'll answer it here. I'm mad at this attitude because it is quite clear that you have never particularly felt threatened by men. Even in the one story that this woman had where she felt threatened by men, it was the elk that were the actual danger. The men, as I say, number of reasons that rifle could have gone off wasn't necessarily hunting reasons. Could have been an accidental discharge, could have been that they didn't see the sign when they entered the property, whatever, number of reasons. And effectively what she actually got mad at was the safety officer not immediately believing her. And this is then all projected onto, as I say, Ted Bundy types, that all men are serial killers. When in reality what this woman's problem with men is that she finds them kind of annoying. And that's the thing. What's actually happened is that this woman doesn't actually feel in danger of men. At no point did she actually say, here's a time I was in the woods and a man actually made me feel in danger. No, all her stories and everything she was describing was just, I find them really annoying. And so to then say, I'd rather, as I say, the hypothetical is the bears are going to maul you. That's the idea, or are likely to anyway. The whole idea there is that you would rather have this bear risk mauling you, which again is still unlikely, than be slightly annoyed by men. But obviously that sounds ridiculous, so then you try and paint over this massive, oh, well, the men are actually dangerous. When again, every story that came up, she wasn't in danger from the men. She was in danger from elk, and that was it. Due to men's fault, don't get me wrong, but as I say, I have high doubts that they were trying to kill you via elk. If they wanted to kill you, they would have just shot you.
I really would like for men to answer that question. People get mad at us holding a mirror to behaviors, not the behaviors.
But the behaviour I just don't even believe. Again, the worst behaviour she was coming up with was, a man from the water district was watching me as I'm a utility worker. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, a safety officer asked me to clarify if it was definitely a gunshot. Oh, that's only because I'm a woman. No, it's not. Oh, what were the three reasons? Like, oh, really bad things can happen was the last reason she came up with. The first two were, I don't like them wasting my time. Again, the mirror in this episode has just been, yeah, men can be kind of annoying, I agree. The mirror hasn't been, I feel my life's in danger every time I go out because there might be a man about. That was never her argument. It was, I want men to stay away from me because they're kind of annoying. And to try and put that on the same level, or in fact, to put that as a worse experience than encountering a bear in the wild is just mental to me. Even from someone who has had experience with safety training with bears. I just don't believe that that is actually her opinion. Anyway, that's pretty much everything that this woman had to say on this topic. I didn't think I'd go on for 40 minutes here, but I just got so interested in this hypothetical. And honestly, it appears that a lot of feminists have the same outlook. I mean, obviously, we didn't go through the original video of the people asking this, but again, the women were giving the same thing. It's, oh, men might do worse things to me. I'd rather take the chance with the bear because I'm pretty sure I can just get it to calm down and go away. When again, the whole point of this situation, the hypothetical, is that, you know, I at least always took it as it's a wilderness thing. You know? And at least from my experience in Britain, when hikers are walking past each other, they say hi all the time and are very friendly. And I've seen American TikToks where people take the mick out of that, and so I imagine it's the same thing anyway. So even from revealed preference, assuming these women go out on walks and do encounter people, they'd rather have those encounters than have the encounter with the bear. Effectively what this was a pretty effective trap from the red pill guys to get feminists to admit that they just hate men, and it appears to have worked quite well, even though from their revealed behaviours they actually do prefer men to bears. But anyway, I'm just going to be labouring the point at this point, so as you may as well enjoy the rest of your weekend, because that's everything I had for you. I in terms of shilling, I do have Tosh next week on the Wellington Project. We'll be going through stories of the week, especially with what's been going on in Scotland today. We will be having regional variations on Tale Features channel on Wednesday, and then hopefully Laughing at the Guardian will be next Friday. I'm hoping to get Dev on, but he's not replying to his DMs, so if anyone knows him, please give him a poke. And with that, that is everything I had for you today. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.